time for another interview here on Retake, and we have one of the most famous and well-respected coaches in all of Rainbow Six. I know him as Justin, or maybe even Dally. I'm just waiting for his face because I know he hates that. You know him as Lycan. He's the prolific coach, the world champion himself of Spacestation Gaming. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's always nice to get to talk to you. I'm glad
You too.
it's under good circumstances because you almost didn't make it out of the quals. I guess the first question for you, I know you have a lot of faith in your team, but when you were watching that match, was there any doubt that you weren't going to come out on top?
Not for me. It is always kind of like unsettling because, especially as a coach, I don't have a whole lot of control. I mean, like I have control, obviously, like in stuff that happens before the game, but as they're playing, it's, you know, all in their hands. And as you see it kind of like progress through, it does seem like it's troubling, but I kind of see it in our advantage the longer the game goes on. I just have so much more faith in our endurance, and like when it gets to that last map and like the pressure's on, I know that we are way better suited for that scenario. Look back at SI, for example. Like we've been through that plenty of times where, you know, if the pressure is on, we are going to be the better team in the situation. So it is scary, but at the same time too, I knew that we had like that experience to fall back on, and I didn't ever at any point think it was like going to be a problem.
Do you think that fatigue played a role in how DG seemingly fell off on that last map, or do you just feel that you were better prepared for Villa?
I think it was probably a little bit of both. We had really good ideas of what to do on Villa. It just happened to be like at the very end with what we were trying to do. I think we were really aggressive with picking Consulate because they had always like banned it before, but we'd never really played them on it. So it was something where we were going in blind, where we could have just said, well, we know exactly what we want to do on Villa. But also at the same time, it's a BO5. Like it doesn't matter when you win it, as long as you win it. And so we did want to play them on Consulate because we thought it was the better choice. Ended up not being so. But I think it was a little bit of exhaustion. I mean, coming down to the last map, they had just played the BO3 before and we had a little bit of a break. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. But I would say in DZ's case particularly, all their games are grinds. So they're used to playing deep into games. So I don't think it was all that. I think it had a lot to do with like our prepare, like how prepared we were for Villa.
Do you think there's any truth or validity to the saying that's been used an awful lot in esports that teams that make those hero runs through the lower bracket end up coming in hot and warmed up and ready to play? And if so, do you think that DG benefited off of that?
No, because I do think there's an argument for both sides, which I see like them. On one hand, you have the team who gets to rest a little bit and they're ready to like play like a BO5 and not be as exhausted, but then they're not as warmed up unless they can get, say, a warm-up map during their break, but then you wouldn't be the rested team. And then you have the team who's the loser bracket who comes in just playing against another good team who's like been playing like top siege, like, and then they're just running into the next one. So I think both sides have their advantages. It's just how you use your advantage will like decide who will win or not.
DG was very confident in their matchup against you. They gave you a good run for your money the first time you played, if you recall. It was a while ago, mind you.
Yep.
Do you think that Disrupt just matches up really well to you stylistically that Mirage and the Sonics don't?
I don't know, because I think there's something, I mean, like, I think the easier answer there would just be yes, but it's every game you watch DG play, they just are, you know, trading rounds back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if it's just their style or what happens, but it's hard to say like what they match up best good against everybody, but they lose. That just seems like weird to me. I just think that they're like a bruiser, grindy team, and like they don't like sweat momentum at all. Like if they lose a round, they can win the next one, which makes them a very good team. I think like with more practice under their belt, I think you'll see them start winning those matches instead of losing them.
Now I want to shift towards the actual qualifiers matchup and ask you a question about probably the most memorable round, which came on Consulate. On Teller's Archives, Troy gave us his perspective. I know a little bit of a chuckle there because, I mean, we were kind of confused by it as well. It was Troy playing his Pulse, Canadian playing his Pulse, down in Archives, and there was a plant going down in Teller's. Kind of confused us because he had the cardiac sensor out, he got triple EMP'd. What was your take on that? Were you watching Troy's perspective while that was going on? And was that a strategic blunder or just bad comms, bad timing, so on?
His explanation for it makes way more sense for me after the fact. When it was happening, I had actually just switched to looking at his perspective. I believe I was watching Fultz because Fultz was like attempting to flank, and then like he said that he wanted to wait for the execute to happen, so I believe he stopped. And then that's when I looked at Troy, and then Troy was looking at the guy on his scanner, like when I shifted my glance at him, and then he got EMP'd. But Troy's call was that like he was getting EMP'd, so he had to just do a retake because he wasn't going to see anymore. And when he said that, it was the bomb was planted. So what he said was that he didn't realize, we call that wall bob. That's like basically the closest part into Teller Hall when you blow it up and you can run in to Tellers. He was planting right on the wall, but Troy didn't know that they actually had blown that wall up yet. So he thought the guy was sitting on the wall droning. So when the guy was there and then he got EMP'd, he's like, okay, they're going for it now. We all have to go retake together because I can't see. I personally like had just looked at it, so I didn't know like at that quick glance that the guy was even in. But all I know was that Troy called like, okay, I'm EMP'd, we have to go. And then the plant was down, and like I remember like Bosco and Fultz both talked about it afterwards. They were like, I have no clue what to do. It's like, you told us we had to go, and like it was planted. So it was a lot of chaos on our end when that happened and confusion. But yeah, if Troy would have known that wall was blown up, I think he would have known like to at least try to shoot the guy through the floor. I mean, it sucks with an up. I don't know if he even would have got the kill. He would have had to got lucky and not hit floorboards, you know, or whatever. So it was confusing, like to be a part of it as a team. And then we tried to work the retake, which didn't happen, but that's pretty much what went down on our end.
I suspected that it was just he wasn't aware that the plant was going down and tried to make a call off of it. I was surprised he didn't at least attempt to shoot through the floor, but I mean, if he thought that, okay, they've just started, we have 6 seconds, we gotta go, I guess that begins to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, he thought that he was still on the concrete in Teller Hall.
Right.
So that's why he didn't try to shoot either, yeah.
Just a little bit like that, just it seemed to completely throw off all of your momentum. And I mean, it was, I appreciate that you respect your team and their ability to come back, but it definitely did seem like it affected you for a couple rounds there. Now, the last question that I have for you before we move on out of the qualifiers is just a general one. Your dominance in what was known as the Mute Mozzie meta obviously was enough to propel you to the top of the world and to win the 6 Invitational, and you looked more comfortable in that meta. Do you find that now dealing with this Jaeger, Wamai deployable shield meta that is going on, that you are struggling more and just less comfortable, or is it that your opponents have dramatically improved over the last couple months?
I think it's a combination of both, and this is like where you're gonna see Lycan be not a very nice person, but we were very dominant. We were very dominant in the Mute Mozzie meta, but we were also dominant when we actually got to play on LAN. And so because of COVID, we haven't had that opportunity as much. And teams that were always good online are, hey, they're still good online. So I do also believe that DZ and TSM have improved as a team. I think both of those teams are playing incredibly well on their own. But I also would like for everyone to remember, like, the way that we play Siege is not to play online, and that's our fault for not being able to adapt as well, and we know that, and we try to change how we play, but also too, like, that's how these players like to play. And so I think it's a combination of things, you know. I do think some of the other teams have gotten better, and I do think that they are pretty good at the Wamai Jaeger meta. I think we are as well. We've tried to do some things like banning out Wamai and see what teams do, and then we kind of like came off of it, and stuff like that. But I don't think it's necessarily all the meta. I think when it comes down to like playing on land again, I believe that you'll see us like have some resurgence in dominance, but you know, we have to prove that. So
that was my next question was, what are you prepping for the major? I mean, the meta seems to be decently well settled. You've got your map pool, your opponents, the same 3 that you tussled with in the last major. You didn't have the result online at the last mini major that you wanted. So what are you gonna tinker with? Because I think it's safe to say that whether DG matches up with you better or not, you did struggle to make it past the quals, but Dark Zero came literally a round away from not making it and then won the whole mini major. So what are you as a coach working on? What do you think your team needs to do to come out on top?
yeah, we have joked about the first major's storyline versus what we have written so far, and that's struggling in the NAQ and changing roles, and now like moving on to the major. I was like, are we trying to like be DZ or what? Like we're pretty much in the same boat as they were. As far as preparation for us, it's pretty much the same. It's trying to always improve on how we play online, and I think sometimes we make adjustments too late. So it's trying to like make sure that we're playing the right kind of siege and we're pacing right for the opponent that we're playing. Also too, I think just trying to find some consistency, because I think a lot of the times you'll see us come up quick, like 3 out, and then like we'll have a 3-3 half or and stuff like that. So making sure probably that we like change things up halfway through, like either attack or defense, whatever side we're on, and trying to keep the opponent guessing.
If you don't win the mini major, who do you think will?
I think TSM.
Really? What do you think gives them the edge?
I personally think that they're a very good team. They've like proven themselves time and time again. I do think that DZ has had really good recent success, but I don't think that they're like more dominant than any of the other teams. I also think like any of these 4 teams could win. Like I think that NA as a region is significantly stronger than any other region. We don't have a way to prove that, unfortunately, but I believe if we were to go to a LAN with the 4 teams that we have, we'd see these 4 teams in the quarterfinals.
It's big praise. You heard it here first. SSG coach endorses TSM, not his own. Print it, run it. That's the headline.
Nice.
No, it's always a pleasure to get to sit here and to talk to you. I hope that you're doing well. You look great.
You too, man.
And so does the rest of your team.
You as well.
I really do hope, as an unbiased actor, I do hope all the best for you in the mini major coming up. Thanks so much for spending some of your afternoon with me. I really appreciate it.
You too, man. Thank you so much.